So this episode for Persona 5 is actually pretty straightforward. The episode continues where we left off last weekend, or last episode for Persona 5, and now we're on episode 21. Last week was episode 20. And basically, it just continues where we left off last week, like I said, where Haru is kind of forced to have to marry some rich political asshole because her father wants to get into like politics or like the political world or the political side of like of Japan or whatever, right? So before they can even like get into attacking like Okumura's like palace, Kunikazu's like her father's Haru's father's palace, right? Okumura Food's palace, right? Whatever. Before they can even like go after it or like start doing whatever they have to do and whatever they normally do, they all have to go into a unanimous decision of actually deciding to want to have to go attack this palace. But for some reason, the episode decides to have a little bit of exposition of Haru when she was younger, which is adorable, and how Akruma Fruits actually used to be when her grandfather used to be alive, and it mattered more about the people who came into the store and giving them a smile more than profit. And her whole like motivation for even wanting to do this in the first place was because her father got corrupted with getting more profit and benefiting himself other rather than others. So that was like the whole point of this, and since the beginning when she started helping Morgana get through the palace and stuff like that. So they do a little opening and then they continues onwards, and at this point Haru is like kind of awakened her persona, but like not really. I don't remember if this happened in the video game, to be honest, because she had the outfit, but she didn't have her persona. It's the same thing with the anime, but when she's about to fight, the cognitive like version of her quote fiance, that's when she like finally truly awakens her full power, persona. But she does that right after they just got to explaining how Haru's father was basically using her as a stepping stool to, get more into the political side of Japan, or just the political side in general. And it was through her because her fucking fiance is like connected to like some political assholes, I guess, or whatever. So the episode just continues on. Of course, they try to progress through the palace even more. She awakened her persona finally, at least its full power, at least, and she can be of some help because for some reason she wasn't able to help out whatsoever. They give her her code name, which is Noir, which actually has an interesting backstory, which makes sense rather than everybody else's. And Haru, does still do a little bit of exposition, but they're not just like having the characters kind of just like stand around and like LeBlanc or whatever. There's actually stuff happening on screen in the sense of they're having the characters progress through the palace, and Haru even actually explains how she let the request on the fan aficionado site, and how and also in the beginning of the episode, what made them kind of like fully determined that they were going to go after it anyways was after a whole bunch of requests and them obviously going into a unanimous decision. So the episode continues onwards. They get to where the treasure is, and then they do the whole calling card bullshit, right? Okumura is like, oh, I gotta get the fucking police to back me up, dog, because they're gonna fuck me up or some shit. So they go back into the palace. They fight Haru's father. There's like some weird anime CGI, but I say weird anime CGI like no anime has ever done that. But I'm saying it looks weird because it's like very obviously CGI, and I feel like other anime has made it not so obvious before. So it's like really like weird to the eye when you actually watch it. It's really odd. So the episode continues on. They do a couple of really cool moves with their with the cast using their persona. It looks cool. It's like the boss fight from the video game, so it's like whatever. The boss fight continues on for a little bit, and then they have to obviously beat this guy, and they do, and now they have to get outside the palace before it fucking blows up. So they get out, and Haru's father, Akuma, is basically kind of monologuing to himself, saying he's going to turn over a new leaf. I'm sorry, Haru, this, that, and the other. And Then he gets shot. Yeah, then he gets shot and then he dies, or at least the shadow version of himself inside of the palace. He gets shot and he dies, which I'm gonna go ahead and just fucking say it because the episode, the rest of the episode doesn't really mattered besides like the final like part, the final scene of the episode, and Kunikazu Okumura, Haru's father, he dies. He has a mental shutdown right as he was having a change of heart, and he was, confessing, like this, that, and the other, like the rumors that were spreading around, like Okumura Foods, and how they've been treating their employees. It was all true. And then as they were actually, starting to question, of him regarding like the mental shutdowns, like themselves, if he was like involved with it somehow, because that was the thing that the Phantom Thieves were actually really curious about. They thought that he was behind the mental shutdowns. Nope, not at all. Asshole has a fucking mental shutdown himself, and he dies right in front of an interview that was broadcasted on TV that they were able to watch on their phones. And Haru had to fucking see her dad die, and it's really fucking sad. He fucking died. I was watching the episode. For some reason, I felt like emotionally attached, and it's like, I guess that makes sense because I'm watching the show and I've played the game, so it's like I get like what's about to happen and how I should feel. But like I couldn't breathe watching it. I don't know why. It was just it hit me. It fucking hit me. I was like, oh shit, this happened. Oh fuck. And then Haru fucking screams out no. She's fucking crying and it's fucking sad, and I'm like, oh no. So that's just how the episode ends. The episode ends. The final like after credits, scene, is basically Sai. She's basically just watching the footage back of what happened when Okumura had his mental shutdown, and she speculates that it's either his left hand man or his right hand man rather, who like backstabbed him, or it's possibly the Phantom Thieves, because now at this point of the series, as it continues on for like the next couple weeks, everyone's going to start speculating that the Phantom Thieves have actually been behind the mental shutdowns, and they caused this mental shutdown with Okumura. But we know that's not the truth because they didn't kill the shadow version that was inside the palace. And the episode pretty much kind of ends with what I presume is supposed to be a foreshadow, because it ends with a close-up shot of Sai Nijuma's eye, and it's like red. There's like a glare, like a red glare, and I think it's supposed to be like a reference to how she has a palace in the game. Because spoilers, she has a palace inside of the game, and you have to go end up fighting her. Which at that point, when I was playing through the game, that was one of the hardest boss fights I ever had to do in the fucking game. Obviously, stuff gets harder, but regardless, she has a palace inside of the game, and I guess that's supposed to be referencing that they're gonna go after her palace next, because reasons like I'll get into whenever they have to go after her fucking palace. So regardless, that's pretty much the entirety of the episode. I thought it was neat. I liked watching it. I liked the exposition, how they did it in the episode, and there were a couple of soundtracks that they had in this episode that I don't really remember hearing from the video game. And plus, it reminded me of the dumbass fucking puzzles that they had inside of the game that were fucking stupid in my opinion. But that's besides the point. But I enjoyed watching the episode. But this episode is like making me want to make another video that I actually had been planning to do for like the past like couple weeks that I haven't done yet. So I might make it after I upload the video, which may be late tonight or tomorrow. Hopefully tomorrow, honestly. But regardless, I hope you guys enjoyed watching the video regardless. If you did, be sure to leave a like. And if you are new to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button for more videos just like this. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a fantastic day. I'm out. Peace.